Today is December 13, and this is the regular meeting of the Advisory Committee on Sustainability. This is our final meeting of the 2023 year, and we are being recorded, and we have a quorum, and we will begin. I am trying to get a pop-up off my screen. Excuse me, that was very distracting. The agenda starts with a public comment period. We ask commenters to stay to about a 2-minute comment period. And I will start by asking if there's anyone who is wishing to make public comment. James Patrick,
Yes,
welcome.
Yeah, hi. I'm James Patrick. Mac Patrick is my nickname. I chair public health and safety for the RTM, and I wanted to be on your call today because I saw that you were going to be talking about noise in general. I saw leaf blowers was on the topic, so I thought I'd just step in. But we've been asked by the first selectman rather to craft a noise ordinance. So we're just getting started. Obviously, you've done a lot of work on it already. We hope to use your material. But I just want to emphasize we're starting on this, and we're going to be working on this very slowly. We're in no hurry. We want to do it right. I shake my head at what's happening in Greenwich right now. We don't want to be in that situation. So we're definitely working on it going forward, and hopefully we can work together on it in some capacity.
Thank you, James, for that. We appreciate your comment. And as I stated when you introduced yourself, when you logged in, we want nobody to reinvent the wheel. And part of what we have had the kind of ability and privilege to do is look at what other communities are doing through our networking and research, and have learned, what works and what doesn't work. And the problem you're trying to solve is going to determine how you craft any kind of ordinance going forward and what the buy-in for that is. So hopefully we can give you some guidance. Thank you. Is there anyone else on the call who wishes to make public comment? I see no. So we will go on to our regular business. The next item on the agenda would be approving the minutes for the month of November. I had written August and November, but we had done August. Christine, I thank you for sending us the minutes, and I have read them, and I have no changes except to ask you if the tonnage of food scrap number that you had in red clarified.
Yes, I do not have a tonnage number. That's why, because when I was rewatching the video, it kind of muted out when you said what it was. So I was hoping we could ask Carolyn.
Which month, Christine?
Last month.
October.
For October? Okay, I'll get that for you in 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
I think it was over 4, which is why that was a good number Carolyn had, but I did not write down.
Can't hear you, Kathy.
Oh. I don't know how. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I think if you have your phone like this, it muffles because the speakers are on the bottom.
Okay. Well, I'll try not to move.
Freeze.
It's hard for me not to move.
I understand.
So, is there? I would make a motion to approve the minutes for the November 8th meeting with the tonnage number of 4.29 confirmed or corrected. Okay. Is there a second? Cliff. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The minutes are approved.
Yay.
Christine, it's 4.39.
39. Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
So as we get into business, I'm going to follow along with points 3 and 4, and then I'm going to swap 5 and 6, given that we have guests on the phone and Mohan, caller number 1, has to leave early. So the discussion of leaf blower ordinance and EV fleets, we will push up and come back to the swap shop as the last item on the agenda, unless there's any objection to that. Before we go any further into our business, I do want to acknowledge this is the last meeting of the year, and it is the last meeting for 2 of us on the committee. Christine Lajeunesse has served, I believe, 6 years or more, 6 or 7 years on the
10,
committee.
I think.
10. Oh my God.
Carolyn's ahead of me. I think this is my 9th or 10th year. I need to figure that out. But
Okay, my bad. I apologize.
no, don't. It's absolutely fine.
You have worked on engaging the schools in recycling and other environmental matters. You have worked with us diligently on 2 rounds of applying for certification with Sustainable CT, taking on massive work of some of the mapping of our cultural assets in our community partnerships, which was critical to the application. And you have served as secretary for which is not always an easy job. So I wish to thank you for everything you've contributed.
You're most welcome.
And thank you for the friendship we've developed. And you're welcome at any meeting or on any advocacy process.
Thank you.
Where you still have energy to give. I too am leaving after 5 years. I again am proud of the work we did to bring about the certification application, certifying Darien at bronze and then at silver. And I believe that was a great way to document things that the town has been doing in the areas that relate to energy and recycling and broader issues of sustainability. And I think as I leave, it just reminds me that there is so much more to do and that it will take collaboration with other units, be it the RTM or more directly with the administration and the selectman's office, because the world is changing. Sustainable actions take time to implement. And I think that there's much more work to be done, and that, quite honestly, some of the brilliant people that have served on this committee with their expertise, with masters in sustainability and their years of work, are being underutilized. And I wish all of you, continued success at helping Darien, stay moving forward with best practices. And Carolyn, thank you for teaching me about trash and helping me be able to give presentations on, I'd be able to talk trash with pride. So thank you.
Which you did a great job on, Kathy.
You did.
And are you finished?
I am finished.
I was just going to say, as the most senior member on this committee, I just wanted to thank both of you. It's been a pleasure working with both of you. And as Kathy said, we've been together through 2 rounds of certification from Sustainable CT, and we absolutely would not have received that certification without both of your hard work on those applications. I mean, it was a ton of work, as you know, and thank you so much for everything that you've done, and all of your efforts have been so appreciated. And I'm happy to talk trash anytime, Kathy. So
thank you. I still think there's a podcast waiting to be
yeah.
watch out.
Never a shortage of things to talk about.
Never a shortage of things to talk about. And this would not be fair without acknowledging Mohan for joining the committee this year, not knowing what he was stepping into, and for working with the swap shop, Cliff, Amanda, everybody, for standing outside at Whole Foods or in the heat of a sidewalk sale or in the pouring rain or any of the other places we've gone, trying to, share the message of being better stewards of the environment and specifically how to handle food scraps, food waste. So thank you to everybody. I do think it's prudent. There'll be a meeting in December There should be a meeting in January to establish a calendar for 2024 with all those who are reappointed, and that's a process happening now, I believe. January 10 would be the next coming meeting on the second Wednesday at noon.
We're losing you.
Ugh,
There you
I
go.
don't know what else to do. I'm like sitting on my computer.
Nope,
January 10th would be the next meeting, at which point you would organize and establish a calendar, I believe. Is there an agreement or a motion to meet on January 10 as we've been meeting now? Cliff,
So moved.
second.
Second.
Amanda?
Yep.
All in favor? All right. So your next meeting at which you can organize and establish a calendar for the year will be January 10th, which is basically a continuation of this year's schedule, and I'm assuming it will be virtual.
And vote on officers too, Kathy.
All of those things.
All of those fun things.
Will your positions be appointed to new members?
That the first selectman's office has been notified that 2 of us are not returning. I have not followed up to find out how that is handled going forward. So I assume so, but I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to item 6, focus areas, leaf blower ordinances. Lots of interest. I know that it's difficult hearing me. I'm going to show you a document and then ask if anyone has any comments for James Patrick or Mr. Kemp, if he's still here. And this document was emailed to each of you and can be forwarded to, if you put your emails in the chat, we can forward this document to you. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Ryan. Okay. Is this visible to y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to ask if I scroll through it, Cliff, the first part of this document, and we're not going to read through all the data, but just to show what's in it. Cliff, do you want to, this was the Cavers article. Do you want to just comment on that?
Well, I guess my comment is primarily that this is not a new topic, that this has been kicking around for at least 2 years in our committee, and that I was going to try to get an article like that out myself, but he beat me to the punch. And it's an excellent article that is worthy of the attention of anybody interested in this topic.
Motion detected at the front door.
Thank you. Mohan, you cannot see my screen, but you did some sort of technical work based on your background and interests on carbon emission, the impact of gas-powered leaf blowers. So while the town may be not going deep into the technical details, there's really no way to have a conversation about noise ordinances without kind of talking about what the machines are and what they do. So do you just, off the top of your head, I realize you're driving, you gave us a page and a half's worth of technical data and why it would be part of a conversation. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, sure, Kathy. I think as an engineer, I'm an engineer from the background, right? So we have to really look at the facts and the data if we have to really make any common sense decisions, right? And the Cliff's work shows really the health issues people face, etc. But then there is this side that's not the side. I would say that the main theme around all of the carbon emissions really is how do we make sure we reduce carbon emissions for the future. I don't know if anybody is following. In the latest conference of the parties, there has been a ratified agreement to really move towards eliminating all of the fossil fuels. That just happened yesterday. Around the globe, people are really looking and watching. So with that extent, what I did was to look at and say, okay, if I take Darien, for example, has anybody done a study on emissions which compares to our own town's emissions related to these leaf blowers, right? So I was able to find a comparative study with the way, in another part of the country. I did some additional research, and I was able to quantify through research and my own background in sustainability engineering and also the sustainability education as to what is the quantified carbon emissions from Darien's leaf blowers and how is it going to impact. It's really mind blowing just how much emission these leaf blowers in town can add, and we cannot simply plant enough trees. We don't have enough space, not just in Darien, in the entire state, just to absorb all of the things these things are spewing. So that's what it is in there. Again, people can read through it. I'm happy to go through any questions and answer as needed. But I would say this should be, again, thanks Cliff for starting this whole thing documenting. This can be used as an additional input to all of the work our team is going to do, and we'll support them as needed.
Thank you, Mohan. And I think whereas the committee has a narrow charge at the moment on restricting hours, I think the context of any conversation and ordinance to the public would include this type of understanding of why there are different reasons that making these changes, whatever they are good for the community. So thank you. Going on in the document, back to you, and his references are amazing, Mohan's. Cliff did some additional work. Cliff, back to you on health. Again, not to sell this group on it at this point in time, but you had gathered sort of the part of, in some communities, this issue has been brought forward for health risk reasons. And in other communities, it's being brought forward for like noise and decibel reasons. And then there's carbon. So Cliff, you just want to make a comment on the health work that you did?
Yeah, actually, I want to apologize for having stated that this information was provided to the Board of Selectmen. It was my understanding that it had been, but now I understand why it wasn't, and it was strictly a matter of capacity and health issues and things of that sort. So I was wrong to say that the Board of Selectmen had seen what we'd done, and this document now reflects what we've done. And one of the things that concerned me when I watched the joint meeting of the two committees to talk about a noise ordinance was that it wasn't addressing the other aspect of this that's so important from a health point of view and an environmental point of view, and that is the problem with gas blowers themselves. It's not just the noise, which is the second item of health concern. It's also what it does from a pollution point of view that is really detrimental to our health. It's a totally short note, and I think it's self-explanatory.
We'll comment on the next part of the document, which has been, I have been following a process in Ridgefield through a group that was a citizen group organized, Ridgefield Comm. Similar to Darien that tried to do a petition, like a change.org petition, and did that to the selectmen in the spring. This group worked within their own civic rules to write a petition to bring an ordinance forward. They have a fabulous website, and they talk about COM being the noise, and they're supported by groups like Pollinator Pathway and other organizations that see, health benefits to reducing the amount of carbon by gas-powered leaf blowers, in particular, as what they emit, the health hazards to the users, and the impact on the environment. So there's quite a bit of information. The latest news is that group has withdrawn their petition. And back to our folks here that have to write an ordinance. And I quoted the first selectman as saying last week, the town is going to form a task force made up of a cross-section of the community from people who were involved with the request of the petition, along with landscapers and several others. It's something that needs to be addressed. So this is any kind of reduction in hours or reduction in usage does require involvement of stakeholders, as Ridgefield, with a very comprehensive, citizen-backed request, is then pushed back on by other elements of the community. Lastly, again, I can share this document. I had collected articles from the state and local publications through the summer, through July. There are many, 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 many more from August to December as these projects are moving through the communities: Norwalk, Greenwich, Stamford, Westport, Ridgefield. And although I am leaving ACS, I'm very happy to continue to participate in these kind of conversations to provide further information. So that I can stop sharing. Are there any questions from anybody regarding that type of document? And maybe directed back at Frank and James is, would it be possible for our group to at least level set your group and then figure out where you're going and what other things could be done to assist you? Because this becomes a big community effort no matter how you slice it.
Yep. Kathy, I can speak to that. I mean, we're like I said, our charge is from the first selectman.
And we are an advisory committee to them, Mr.
Right,
Patrick.
right. So
we advise them.
But just understand, at this point in time, on December 13th, we've only been recommended to work on looking at hours. We're looking at garbage trucks. They start off at 3 a.m. So there's things like that. And again, we're just starting. So this is going to be a long process.
I'm not expecting you to do anything immediately. And if leaf blowers and lawn equipment is in this, this is something that we have, we can advise on the environmental side, but we also, all the documentation that I gave you at the bottom of the document is the hours and restrictions by day, by season of all of these communities. There's no reason for you to research that again, because that is in that document.
Great, thank you.
I guess I'm looking for an invitation in some way, shape, or form to meet with you or our committee to meet with you. I think
that will happen. I just, again, we're just getting started. I think there definitely could be an invitation extended along with other committees in town.
I must say that your charge seems too narrow to me, and I don't know if I don't know if there's any way to have it modified. But I mean, we really have to, for the health and welfare of our community and the world, since we're all in the same swimming pool, we need to move away from these gas blowers and move to electric ones. And we understand, I mean, we've been thinking about this and talking about this, as I say, for about 2 years. These companies that do the leaf blowing around town have invested a lot of money in their equipment. You can't expect them to just dump it overnight. So the lead time to make the transition is going to be far longer than we would ideally want it to be. and I listened to your timeline and the process that you need to go through. That also pushes things out. But it seems to me it would be an opportunity missed if this is limited to the noise and the solution is only to limit the hours or define the hours, because that might help with the garbage trucks, but it's not going to help get us away from this problem of the air pollution and what that does to people with all these different diseases and things. I mean, it's a serious problem.
Cliff, I agree.
And I guess the second thing I wanted to say is I want to reiterate in a way what Kathy's saying, speaking for myself and I think for others on our committee. If there's anything that we can do to help you, Mac and Frank, along the way, we'd obviously want to do that.
We are not naive. We are not naive people that don't understand that you're probably looking at a process of a period of 1 to 2 to 3 years in which changes would be made and phased in, and people begin to understand the relative technologies, and landscapers try different things. I can tell you that in working with a landscaper in Greenwich who has actually outfitted an entire truck that has solar panels and does all of their lawn work with electronic vehicles. Now that's an investment in time, but he's building a very big business, and entrepreneurs and business people will be working on things. So the noise and the long-term plan, I don't think, as Cliff said, can be separated. And we would ask seriously and advise directly to the first selectman that be part of your thinking before you lock yourself into a year or two's worth of work and have to start all over again.
Well, no, you mentioned you're talking about the contractors and the landscapers. We're also going to be looking at the property owners, because these companies are only working at the request of homeowners and property owners, and they're the ones that ultimately, if we were to put in an ordinance with fines and everything, that's a burden on the owner of the property. So it's like you say, it's going to be a big educational hump to get over.
I agree. That's why the first selectman of Ridgefield has now put a task force in place with landscapers and town officials and advocates of making change.
Very good.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on this matter? And next year's committee and their chair can follow up with you in early January.
Well, thank you. And I did in the chat, I put my RTM email address.
Christine, will you grab the email
Yes.
address? Thank you. Mohan, we have not lost you.
Kathy, before we sign off, I'm Frank Kemp, chairman of the other committee that's working on this. And just because I've kept quiet in all this, it doesn't mean I disagree with Mac. His way he lays out our schedule and what we're considering is right on target. One thing I would add is that we are looking at construction noise as well, might get folded into this, as well as garbage haulers and leaf blowers. So our scope was defined by the Board of Selectmen. It does not mean that we have blinders on, that we will also have a public hearing in mid-March. Our committees need to do the research during January and February, and we anticipate having that hearing or hearings, plus opportunity for the public to send in their opinions by emails. If they can't attend the hearing, a special email account will be publicized to collect the public view. So thank you for inviting us today. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for coming. As I said to Mr. Patrick at the beginning, we often feel we're alone here on our calls, and it's the only way an advisory committee to the selectmen works is if, in fact, we're talking to the community and the selectmen's office itself. So thank you very much.
Frank, can you put your contact information in the chat as well, please?
I don't know if you heard that, Frank. Frank, did you hear?
Yes, I'll give it to you right now, but also Kathy and Cliff have it as well. They might put it in the
Thank you.
minutes.
Thank you.
It's really just my name, Frank, middle initial B, Frank B. Kemp at Gmail.
All
Thank
together.
you. Okay, I want to move on to any EV fleet or infrastructure discussion between
Thank you.
Mohan and Tony. So I'm going to step back and
Yeah.
let you guys advise us if there's anything new to report.
So, Kathy, there is nothing new to report at this point. We have our proposal ready, and we have circulated that to, I think, that was sent to Kate Bush, and she wanted us to put together a business case, benefit cost. At this point, my view on this is I don't think we know what we are doing with it. The reason I say that it is unclear to me when we have a recommendation like this, what is the process where we can recommend and we can take a tangible action. Until we really clarify that, I don't think there is any point carrying out any work, because right now our work is concluded from my perspective, where we have said we have done our research, working with the EV installation companies, looking at all of the other towns around what they're doing. And then what I did not really like is the town's response of explain to me why this is important. I think we need to clarify that. At this point, if we have to ask the question why EV infrastructure is needed in any town, I think we have gone way backwards in how we think about the future of the future of the town, future of everything. So I have now started all discussions around it. We have the document. I think as part of either this committee or the next year's committee, we really need to figure out what is our charge as a sustainability committee. What are we supposed to do when we come up with proposals? How do we engage with town officials? How do we get their support? And maybe they need to be driving this, because we are an advisory committee. The town people should be doing a lot of this work. So that's where I am right now. I'm happy to take any questions, but right now that work is halted until we really clarify what we are doing, instead of doing all this work and feeling like the time is truly wasted.
So I have two, one's a question, one's a comment on what you're saying, Mohan. Did you guys, you and Tony, get in touch with facilities at all? Were able to get a meeting? Because I remember we were going to try to do some of the food scrapping conversation at the same time.
Well, I've been waiting for Tony to tell me exactly what we do. The first thing was to talk to Kate. I think, is that Kate speaking? Sorry.
Yeah, Kate Bush is the town administrator. You can't go any higher than her at that point.
Right. Sorry, who is? I can't see you. I'm sorry.
That was Amanda.
Amanda, sorry. Okay. No, Amanda. I thought that's Kate, maybe. I thought she's in the mix. No, we haven't gone to that road, because the first conversation was to go to Kate and see where do we go from there. I really wanted a path from there, but we don't have a path other than do some more work. So we haven't done that.
Anyone
And
else?
so
Okay,
my
Amanda.
question then, my comment then, and Carolyn, I kind of send this to you, I guess, or Cliff maybe, but I feel like there's, especially with Kathy and Christine leaving, there's a lot of turnover on this committee. Watching the swap shop stuff, I don't know that we have a clear understanding of what our role is, go to with the different initiatives we want to take on.
Yeah.
Outside of setting up tables at events, when we want to get more community involvement, what is our process and procedures for that kind of stuff? And where is the line we work to, right? Maybe we're out of our scope. Swap shop is a great example of what's in scope, what's out of scope. And so I kind of look to you, Carolyn, because I know you've been on the committee a long time, and maybe January you'd give us some training or like some contact people we need to have on our phones, because there are answers to our questions. But I worry that we're going to drop balls, and my biggest worry would be to drop the ball around all that work you guys did for the sustainability CT. You got to have deadlines or reports or something that you're going to need to follow through with. And without us being privy to that, all that work would fall through the cracks and go away, and that would be just devastating.
Well, this is a perfect
Yeah,
example. This is a perfect example of why our mission statement needs to be revisited. Our mission statement was last approved by the Board of Selectmen in November of 2018. So that's more than 5 years ago. And even at that point, the mission statement itself wasn't really evaluated. Each item on it wasn't really evaluated. It was updated to change the name of the committee to the Sustainability Committee so that we could apply for certification from Sustainable CT. So prior to that, I would have to look back in the minutes, but I think that the charge hadn't been really looked at for like maybe 3 to 5 years before that. So we're talking about 2014, 2015. So I would suggest that the first order of business would be that we work to update the mission statement so that we're not doing exactly what you just described, Amanda, which is that we're doing all this work and spinning our wheels and not having it be a priority of the Board of Selectmen. So
I appreciate that, Carolyn. Where's our mission statement?
Amanda,
it's online.
Online.
It's on the town website on our page.
Okay.
I can send it to you if you want.
Carolyn, I support you 100% in that statement, and I would recommend that at your first organizing meeting of the year, the first order of business is a direct meeting with the first selectman and an agreement to get their input on a mission statement, as well as our input on what we see as the most valuable use of all this time on an advisory committee. Because it is unclear what the roles and responsibilities are right now as an advisory committee. We're not a commission, we're an advisory committee, and what areas we should focus on. And we think we know what those are: waste management, energy, those are and everything that goes around them. And the environmental things like the health concerns. So I'm leaving, but I strongly urge you to modify the mission statement as is, but only adopt that with support of the first selectman or the Board of Selectmen.
Right. Okay.
So Kathy, sorry guys. Unfortunately, I got to leave. Sorry, 1 second. Can I just say something?
Amanda, hang on. He has to hang up.
Please. This is one. So I gotta go. Thank you. So Kathy and Christine, thank you for your service. Look forward to work with you guys in different capacity in the future. So I gotta go. So we'll circle back. Okay. Thank you all. Take care. Bye now.
Thank you.
I was going to ask Mohan, does he know how to get a meeting going for January, or does somebody else have that?
I am not disappearing. I'm just not going to run it. I will make sure that we're set up for you. It'll be Zoom. It won't be GoToMeeting. We'll make sure that it's reported and posted and noticed as it must be done officially for the town.
Right. You're going to take that on, Kathy?
I will make sure that is done.
Great. Thanks.
I'm not disappearing.
I know, but when your charge is over, like in fairness, you let that off your responsibility list.
We need to notice the town now that it will happen. So I will make sure that's done.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Carolyn, do you have any final comments on this topic of establishing a mission that's acceptable to the town and the committee and is meaningful in terms of, positive things?
Only to say that we should review what we've been charged with thus far. Our last mission statement was approved by the Board of Selectmen in November 2018. We worked on compiling the mission statement, and then it was approved by the Board of Selectmen. But I agree with what your suggestion was to not have us decide everything that we want to work on. As you said, based on like the applications that we've been through and what we know other communities are doing, we do have some ideas about what we think the direction that the town should be going in. So we can certainly we can certainly update some of the things that are on there, but I do think that it really would behoove us to meet with the first selectman and town administrator and just get some ideas, because they have a complete overview of the town and what they think we should be spending our time doing.
So I agree with what you're saying, Carolyn, but I also think that when we go there, we should, in a sense, have a proposal as well.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. I said we, based on the work that we've been doing and sort of our institutional knowledge, we have an understanding of the direction that we think we should be going. And we shouldn't walk in and say, what should we do? We should be saying, this is what's happening here. Exactly. We should have some ideas on the things that we think the town should be doing, and also based on what we're interested in doing. Like we have different varied interests among different, committee members and different abilities and different amounts of time and so forth. So I agree 100% that we should have a draft and then meet.
Yes, and that has to match the town's priorities.
Well, you go to find out if it matches their priorities and see if there are other things that they propose that might also fit that everybody would like. But I mean, frankly, if they say, if we say we'd like to do ABC and they say, well, how about XYZ? You may find a bunch of people dropping off the committee. I mean, I don't think any of us enjoy spinning our wheels and nothing ever getting done. So we absolutely have to be in sync with the Board of Selectmen. We have to know they want this. And they have to know we want it, what we want to do. So yeah, I agree. I think we're on the same page.
And I just want to end that, Cliff, with at least the tempering that with, we want to work on things that benefit the community, that have, health value, cost reduction value. For example, the grants that we did not go for this year that would have benefited the community. There are many things that we would like to see done that aren't just selfish for us. They are things that we can show a cost and a benefit. So I just want to temper it that we all have different interests: waste, food, recycling, energy, engineering, and we can all contribute in ways that we think would be good for the town and not huge burdens, ridiculous tree hugger burdens. I don't even know what that means. So, thank you. Okay. Can we wrap that conversation up because we have 15 minutes left? All right.
And the one thing I'll say on that, and maybe I'm in the wrong spot, I see our members on the Advisory Committee on Sustainability page on our website. I don't see our mission statement.
Here, I'll help you find.
Odds are I'm missing it, but I just throw that out there.
Thank you. Okay, so the remainder of the meeting, the last 15 minutes of the meeting are going to be devoted to agenda item 5, which we skipped, and that is the swap shop. I've asked Cliff, I'm going to put myself on mute, and ask Cliff to be the moderator of this final section, which is probably to start with any update from Dan, and then Ed, who I see has been quietly in the background, is here to participate. So take it away, Cliff. I'm turning my microphone off.
So I think that from my point of view, there are sort of 4 key issues relating to the swap shop. And the first one is actually number 4 on my list, but it's the most important. It ties in with what we're just talking about in terms of our mission and proper definition around what's going on. And that is, what is our committee's role with respect to the swap shop? Is it more than advisory? And so that needs to be resolved with the new first selectman. My sense is that it is a bit more than advisory. So we need some clarity there. A second of 4 things that I would identify is that we've established these rules for the swap shop. I think they're quite clear, but there doesn't seem to be any means to enforce them, and that needs to be addressed. by somebody, and we as an advisory committee can make some suggestions there, but we need to explore what can be done because it's a big problem. The third thing is it's quite a challenge to recruit volunteers, and volunteers are what make the swap shop go. At least that's the way we're currently structured. And so that's, to my way of thinking, one of 4 key issues. A fifth one is that there are too many people who do not understand the purpose of the swap shop. I mean, I know all of us do, and I know we try like crazy to help other people understand it, but it's a problem that people don't understand it because they then complain about what's going on without recognizing that what's going on is really satisfying the objectives of the swap shop. Then there are a bunch of other lesser issues to my way of thinking. One is people crossing the street. That's been complained about several times. From my point of view, I don't see it as a big issue. I've crossed that street a number of times. It's not like you're crossing some speedway or something. It's already an intersection where people have to be careful because of cars entering and leaving the recycling center. Another is about children milling around there, and I think that we may have addressed that in our rules. We just don't have enforcement capabilities. A third one, and I don't consider this minor, but you can't sort of address it on its own. Our volunteers have been abused by some town members, and that is a problem. And then the last one is one that's come up several times. At least this isn't the last by any means, it's the last on my list. And that is that there's competition at the swap shop for the, quote, good stuff, unquote, which was part of our discussion about the role of the volunteers and when can they take things and things like that. I think that, we've thought about all these things, we've talked about all these things, and we really need to, in our meeting with the first selectman, we need to get clear what our role is and how he expects us to, how he expects, maybe not us, but how he expects these, at least the key issues, to be addressed. So that's how I'm teeing up the subject for you folks. If it's open for discussion if anybody wants to talk about it more. Dan, certainly you as the person who's controlled the volunteers, recruited the volunteers, assisted the volunteers, worked there yourself many hours. What do you think about this kind of list of issues and how we approach them?
Excellent summary, Cliff. Very well done. You're absolutely right on in all of them. And I think we need clarification because there is a lot of frustration on implementing what we are trying to do. And it's all, it's very, very difficult at this point in time. And I think we do need to talk to the first selectman and the selectmen as to, how we tackle some of these issues. Because a lot of them are beyond our pay scale. And so I think it's a good idea.
Being at Public Works, do you have some thoughts on this? I know this isn't new material to you.
Is Ed here? Ed?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Ed's listening.
He's always listening.
Swap shop, do you have some thoughts on what you're hearing? It's kind of the same stuff that's not getting resolved and continues to crop up. And what is our role? What is enforcement? How much of it is dangerous for people to be walking across the street? Do we care? Is that a thing we want to get involved in?
All of these topics have been talked about, vetted, addressed, talked about again, vetted again, and readdressed. I don't know how many more times we'll keep bringing it up at different types of meetings like this, but let's talk about the first one, and I think it's the most important. The role of running and managing that swap shop is not DPW. It is not the town. It's Dan and the volunteers up there, and from day one was very, very specific from the DPW's point of view that we would have no involvement over there with the managing and running of that facility. Now, I have on many occasions pitched in, helped, done what I had, done what I could do, tried to get involved with some of the major issues that go on over there, but it is very time consuming. Having Dan run the volunteers, having Dan over there just about every day helps that swap shop go. I don't think you guys realize how much time he spends over there trying to run this. And let's take it back to, it's like herding cats at times. I was over there Saturday and I watched the use of that facility, and it's and the volume of going in and out of there. It is highly used. It is appreciated by the majority of our town. I'd say closer to 90%, 95% of our residents enjoy the swap shop. And unfortunately, it's the loud the minorities, that minority group that are making the most problems for us right now, unfortunately. So let's address the streets crossing thing. Talked about, vetted with the police department, vetted with our previous first selectman. As of right now, crossing the street is allowed in the town of Darien and in the state of Connecticut. There is no state statute for jaywalking. Pretty much simple. You can cross the street anywhere you'd like.
And that needs to be in our minutes.
It will be, don't worry.
Okay.
Thank you so much, because beautiful. Thank you. And that means the town knows, they're privy to I appreciate that a lot.
Okay. So children, I thought we addressed it with the signage of the last meeting that we had, Cliff. We talked about that too.
That's why, Ed, I didn't consider it as a major issue, but rather sort of a subsidiary issue. The major issue related to that would be, in my estimation, no means of enforcement of the rules.
And and that's been that way from day one, Cliff. And I don't disagree with you, but as you, as a resident of the town of Darien and any other resident, you have a right to come to that facility and be on that property and go in and out of the swap shop. Now, our rules are for the convenience and use of that swap shop so that everyone can use it to the best of their ability, enjoy it while it's there, making sure that everyone has a chance to come and go. Are there people that are going to ignore the rules? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything that we can do from them? Not from my standpoint. And so unless you break the law, I cannot kick you off of that property.
Well,
Okay?
you're already saying that, you've already said that it's not your responsibility in a way, right? It's not DPW. So
when I said break the law, I meant something that police would need to get involved in.
Yeah, no, I get you.
So that's about as far as I'll go with regards to enforcement. Cliff, let me finish, please, because I don't want to run this over the 1 o'clock. I want to make sure I get the last point. I do have some information for you folks. I need to let you know. With regards to the volunteers, I think Dan's doing a great job with them. Do they step outside their purview once in a while? I'd have to say that I have noticed it. I have spoken with them also because I happen to be there. Dan has also. Again, reiterating things to folks. Because it's our rules. Enforcement, not a lot behind it that we can do. Again, volunteers are residents. They can go there too. And finally, the purpose. I think, Cliff, you hit that. That's probably the most important. We forget why we're here sometimes, right? We forget why we put this swap shop there. Long before I started here, people thinking about a better way to use items that just aren't ready to be discarded. And I think it's a benefit to the town. I will tell you, I hear more about our swap shop when I go to other towns, when I go to other seminars, people asking about this. I'm sure all of you folks, Carolyn's smiling, she hears it too. We've had more people that want to come down and see this place because of what it is. And what I don't like is the bad press it's been getting. So I want to change that. And that kind of segues me right into where we are right now. As of the week of January 14th, I'll be doing what I did last year. I'm going to shut down the swap shop for a couple months. Give me an opportunity to clean it up. I have some work around it, the swap shop again to do. And until April 1st, we will reopen that week, tentatively scheduled for that. And I think because of the cold winter months, the lack of use during the wintertime, I think it's a great opportunity to not only give me an opportunity to clean up the area, but also maybe the volunteers to reset a little bit, take a little bit of a break. And I think it worked out well. I'd also like to, before we come back in April, have another volunteers meeting. Cliff, you were there. I think Kathy, were you there at that one? I'm not sure. Nod your head, turn it. No, I don't believe it. Somebody else was there, but Cliff, you were there. I thought it was a great opportunity just to remind the volunteers, again, this is why we're here. This is why we do this. You guys are doing a great thing. Let's keep it going in a positive direction. So we'll be shutting it down right after Christmas. I want to give people a chance of things that maybe they want to donate and get that into the swap shop and out before January 14th, 15th. We also will be posting a sign of other locations you could bring stuff to while the swap shop is closed, not just leaving people in the lurch.
Right.
Okay. And I did speak to Dan about it because I know he's the most involved in it, but he thought it was a good idea too. I won't speak for you, Dan. You could just nod your head, and I think he understands the atmosphere over right now is it's every once in a while a little contentious, and I think maybe it's a good opportunity to reset.
And Ed, I want to thank you very much because as most people realize, Ed's my sounding board. There are a lot of things that go on. And if any of you have been in corporate life like I have, it's the same situation. We have personnel problems. We have different issues. It's just very, very difficult to lead that type of operation. And Ed, I want to thank you for helping me out.
My pleasure.
Dan, I will say that I'm happy to help in any way with the swap shop. That's really what I wanted to focus on.
Oh, I know that, Christine. Thank you. And you have been also, and Carolyn's been my sounding board, and same with you, Kathy. We've been around the rounds, right? But it's a very difficult situation. As Cliff said, people really don't realize what we go through to keep the swap shop running. It's a tough situation. And there are a minority of people. They're always, as I tell the people who volunteer, there are always going to be a small minority who are going to cause the situations that we have. It's inevitable in any type of organization. So we have to be able to deal with it. And how we deal with it is important. But we're not going to get away from it. There's always going to be someone there or people there that are going to break the rules.
Dan, can I just, knowing that we're coming to the end, thank you for the work you've done. Ed, thank you for your comments today. We officially note that the swap shop will close as of the 15th. I'll open the 14th, close the 15th. Is that what you said? Close the 14th.
Close the week of the 14th in January, reopen April 1st.
Okay, so that is the decision. I do think, given everything that you've said, Ed, Dan, and prior comments about the swap shop and the role of the committee, there is work to be done to better understand roles and responsibilities, because there are still issues that, as an advisory body, we do not have authority at that swap shop to do, and there's a lot of gray area, and making sure we're clear on who and where to reach out. The last comment on the swap shop from me is that I believe that period of time is also a good time to develop a public relations campaign from the town of Darien, because the continued belief by many people in the town that some of the negative stories are being posted on behalf of the committee and the town of Darien need to be somehow overcome, even as to comments that were posted today specifically directed at this committee. And I'm hoping that there is a communications plan to offset some of that prior to launching April 1st.
Thanks, Kathy. Absolutely. We
need not right.
It's
not right what's even out there today. And people think it's the town that's posting. So I don't want to end 5 years of ACS talking about that. This year, I think I have to write a little report. We did a lot of public outreach. We did get that swap shop back open and working, to Ed's point, this year. We tried to reach out to the school board of education unsuccessfully to begin these conversations. And I think that's another area that the committee could very seriously ask Ed and the selectman's office to make proper introductions, because we left money on the table for things that are going to have to start one way or another over there in the school building. So I see lots of good work to be done, and you are all an amazing group of volunteers and really smart people. And Ed, you've tolerated a lot with annoying things, but we appreciate, you know, yours and Tony's willingness to move things along that are important. So happy holidays to everybody. Anybody else have a holiday cheer or a greeting other than see you on January 10th, folks?
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Holidays.
Thank you for everything, Kathy.
Meeting adjourned.
Kathy.